Good evening, I'm Christian Esguerra, and welcome to this episode of After the Fact, where we get to see things more clearly, where we get a better sense of the truth. Let's begin by dissecting the news. The most direct impact of our choices, whether good or bad, during elections is felt at the local level, in the very communities where we live in. You pick a competent mayor, for instance, and expect meaningful programs and services for the next 3 years. But choose a bad one, and you'll suffer for years to come. We've seen this with how local governments have been handling the COVID-19 pandemic. Some commendable, others forgettable. Tonight, welcome to our special series on candidates running for local positions in the 2022 elections. We'll look at the issues and all politics as local. Vice President Robredo has endorsed former Congressman and Budget Secretary Rolando Andaya Jr. for governor in their home province of Camarines Sur. Andaya is a longtime ally of former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, who is one of the pillars of the so-called unity team behind the tandem of Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte. Andaya is running against Luigi Villafuerte, the brother of outgoing Governor Migs Villafuerte, who is seeking a congressional post. On one hand, can Andaya help solidify support in the vote-rich Bicol region for Robredo's presidential bid? On the other hand, can Robredo's endorsement help Andaya defeat the young Villafuerte, whose family is aligned with Marcos Jr.? Now, be part of our discussion. Send us your questions and comments on our YouTube live chat or tweet us using the hashtag ANC After the Fact. Joining us tonight is former Congressman Rolando Andaya Jr. Good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Yes, good evening, Christian. Good evening to our televiewers.
Okay, some people were somehow surprised that you decided to endorse Vice President Len Robredo's presidential bid. Walk us through that decision process that you had. Why her?
First of all, I'm an avid student of history. And if there's anything I've learned, during the Marcos regime, the first province to revolt against President Marcos then was Camarines Sur. So intense was their disgust with the administration at that time that during the National Assembly, the election for National Assembly members, it was a clean sweep. All the opposition candidates, 4 of them, all won. And incidentally, one of those candidates was my father, my late father. He was part of a group called Apat na Agila, or 4 Eagles. And he was part of opposition team then. And as I said, clean sweep. So it's just history repeating itself. It's but natural for me, of course, to honor my father and to continue the fight for the province against, a perceived second coming of a Marcos leadership.
Okay, but last year, you were aggressively pushing for the candidacy for president of Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte.
Yes,
And as it turned out, she decided to run under Bongbong Marcos. So you never considered endorsing also Bongbong Marcos?
No, never crossed my mind. In fact, I told Inday Sara that if that scenario happened, then I would have to choose a different candidate for president. And at that time, admittedly, VP Lynn was also considering running for governor in our area. So she was not, shall we say, in the radar screen at that point in time. So when she actually did announce her bid for the presidency, it was natural for my province and for my group to endorse her.
So when did you actually decide to endorse her? That was right after she declared her candidacy for president?
Yes, and more clearly when Inday Sara decided to run for vice president. We're grateful for these. We have these 9 mayors that had the guts to actually go against shall we say, the sentiment of the province. These 9 mayors who hit the national news in running for or supporting BBM. And that gave us a chance to actually show our real strength. We have 19 mayors, incumbent mayors on our side, vigorously supporting Lenny. We have the majority of councillors. We have the majority of barangay captains in our group. So we're very confident that the foundation of VP Lenny is still intact and even growing stronger by the day. We had a very good kickoff rally. And after that, she moved on to the other provinces beside Camarines Sur, and the same sentiments. People were starting to come out, seeing that her home province is solidly behind her, and that, of course, encouraged other groups from other provinces to come out and support her. So it was a good start for her. And sorry na lang, hindi umandar yung gimmick na sinisira sa national media, pinapakita na mahina ang leadership ni Leni by using those 9 mayors who are now paying the price and being bashed and viciously criticized by their own townmates for the stunt that they pulled.
So yung 9 mayors na yon, they're actually the minority. You're saying that majority of the province would back Robredo.
Yeah, 3 of the 9 actually issued a public statement saying that they never endorsed BBM. But the question is, how to get into that meeting? But the leader of the group actually yesterday actually came out. BBM na talaga siya. So after denying it for a few days, he actually came out and admitted that BBM siya. So sorry for him. Let's see what happens. Let the people decide on his fate.
But incidentally, the incumbent governor, the outgoing governor, and of course the candidate of choice to replace him, they're part of the Villafuerte family. They're supporting BBM and Sara Duterte. So don't you think that could also eat up into the votes that you're talking about for Leni Robredo, and that could somehow divide the province?
Hindi. Alam mo, this comes sur eh. Medyo personal ng laban dito. We have a good chance of having the next president coming from Camarines Sur. I was the lone supporter in the province when Senator Raul Roco ran for president. I was the only congressman, national official supporting him here in this province. And the only local official supporting Senator Roco at that time was the late Mayor J.C. Robredo. Kaming dalawa lang magkasama nun. And it felt very different. Ibang-iba ngayon. The support is 100 times greater than it was last time. So we're very confident that she will get probably all or vast majority of voters in Camarines Sur.
Okay, you said that you said that she decided to support Leni Robredo soon after she declared her presidential bid. But did you also go public right after that?
Yes, yes. But the problem was, there was so much news coming out. And local media here was likewise confused on where she was coming from, where I was coming from. Then you had people going underground trying to reach out to other presidential candidates. So we didn't have a chance to bring it out. But luckily, with that stunt again of those 9 mayors, people were able to focus who were the real allies of Leni when it comes to this province.
Okay. Now, how much of this decision of yours to endorse Leni Robredo's presidential bid was also affected by the local political dynamics in Camarines Sur? The fact that your opponents are sided or allied with the Marcos-Sara Duterte tandem?
When you talk to your leaders in private, they will tell you the true sentiments. And underlying dun sa all those big words being used for change, o babago, their sentiments were Leni. They were just waiting for the leadership of the local party to make a stand. And when we did, they all gave big sigh of relief, saying that we are for Leni all along. We just waited for the leadership. That's the structure here. There's a leadership structure here. Hindi to kanya-kanyang lakad lang. This is a political party. We follow the hierarchy. So when the head decided that we're going for Leni, everybody followed. But deep down, sentiments nila, we had the same sentiment. So lucky for us.
So in your case, it was not for lack of a better choice because of the local complications. You really wanted to endorse her?
No. Well, if you look at lalatagin mo yung mga nakaharap na kandidato, those who have declared the presidency. I'm a lawyer. Is there any other lawyer there? There's the only one. If you want to look at track record or achievement, who's the highest elected official there? Still VP Leni. So wala naman. There's nowhere to go. And bonus na lang yun na ko siya. Na shall we say province mate ko siya. But if you're thinking and you want somebody who can, at least give the country a chance to get out of its situation now, I think she would be the best choice.
Now, in your case, you served under the cabinet of Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. You have been allied with her for a very long time now, no? I suppose hanggang ngayon, no? Okay pa rin kayo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Now we know that
I was present in her book launching.
Okay. So yun nga. So, but she's one of the pillars of the coalition, that unity coalition, supposedly, behind the Sara Duterte and Bongbong Marcos tandem. Didn't that pose certain complications
No.
on your part?
No.
Didn't she try to talk you out of supporting Robredo?
No. Did not even mention anything. In fact, when she read in the papers that VP Lenny was endorsing me, she was even elated to hear about it. Just like you, and just like the opening statement of your program, all politics is local. She believes that all politics, and this is as local as you can get. She's from Camarines Sur, and naturally, all politics is local. You support somebody from your province. Swerte na kami na she's the most qualified of all.
Okay. But who are you endorsing for vice president?
At this point in time, anything can happen in the Philippine politics. This is the first time I've seen that an incumbent or the outgoing president has not endorsed anyone. That's the first time I've seen that. So from the scenarios now, anything can happen. What I can say is she called me up, Inday Sara called me up, that she is passing through Camarines Sur, that she will not endorse anyone and she will not pass by any governor or any congressman to endorse. She'll just pass by and say hello, and that's it. That's the last we have heard from her. We still remain friends, and we are still friends at this point in time. But who knows? You never know. There's so many scenarios, so many tandems coming up. There's still cases pending in the COMELEC, so anything can happen within the next few weeks.
But that's quite interesting, your response. No? Anything can happen. So parang open pa yung options for you. You haven't decided? Because naturally, I think people would expect you to endorse Sara Duterte for vice president because you aggressively pushed for her for president last year.
One thing I learned is that I need to consult with leaders, their sentiments. But you're correct. Their sentiments are Sara. But again, it has to be coursed through the leadership of the party and take it from there. Again, I'm open to anything as long as it's supported by the majority of the members of the party. Anything can happen.
Is it also because your opponents, the Villafuertes, have already endorsed Sara Duterte's vice presidential candidacy?
Endorsing them unilaterally is one thing. Being endorsed back by her is a different matter. She has not endorsed them in any shape or form. In fact, she messaged me that she is not going to visit any incumbent official, governor for that matter, who is seeking her endorsement. So that's clear to me.
Okay. But by the way, what happened between you and Sara Duterte? Because last year you were going around media interviews talking about your push for her to run for president, and you've been praising her, talking about her qualifications, her achievements, and you said she would be the best option for the next president of the Philippines. And then she decided to settle for a vice presidential candidacy. What happened?
Yeah, that was a very difficult situation for me personally, because I could see that the family involved, and I did not want to meddle with family affairs. They have their own dynamics, so it was best for me to just keep out of it and let her decide. For me to try to influence her one way or another would be a disservice, or I might end up insulting the father. Who knows better than the dad? So let them take care of their own personal affairs. What is sad lang is I hope before the election happens that the father and the daughter will end up making peace, or probably end up endorsing each other para may happy ending naman yung pamilya nila.
But were you actually deeply involved in her decision-making process at that time?
Well, consulted in a way, and some suggestions. But when the family problem became apparent and it was spilling over to the public, I and Gibo at that point in time decided to pull back. and let things happen na lang between the family and whatever her decision would be based on her relationship with the father.
But are you still part of her circle? Because Gibot Teodoro is still part of
No more.
the... hindi na.
Yeah, I'm helping Gibo. I believe that he'd be a very good senator, the best one na pagpipilian dyan. But as regards the campaign of Inday Sara for vice president, I'm just a friend. I'm just a friend willing to help her. We communicate every now and then, but how she does her campaign, I'm totally out of it.
So you're out of her circle for this candidacy?
Yes, circle of political advisors and that. Maybe tagahanga, friend, yes, I'm still in there.
Okay. Now, what went through your mind when she decided not to go for the presidency and slide down to a vice presidential candidacy, and she decided to pick Bongbong Marcos? What did you think about that?
That for me was a disaster. That for me was a disaster personally. That what made it clear to me that I cannot join your president, choice of president. Yeah, I was talking to her, telling her that before that choose anyone. If you're really running for vice president, choose anyone except him. Because historically and personally, I cannot. And unfortunately, it went that direction, so I had to go another direction.
What did she tell you in response when you said it was a disaster? It would be a disaster.
She had her own reasons based on her advisors, political advisors on geography, where the votes are, which I understand from a political analyst standpoint. It made sense, and it also made sense to her. So after all, it's the victory that she's after. And if she thinks that's the right path for her, then good for her. But for me, again, I'm an avid student of history, and that formula will not work here. It will never work here. Again, all politics is local.
Okay. Again, we're going to go into the details of that local political dynamics. But before we go to that, how do you respond to those who are saying that in the face of all these criticisms against Bongbong Marcos, his side, his supporters are claiming in so many words, the sins of the father must not visit upon the children. So wala daw siya dapat kinalaman doon. And you're talking about history earlier.
Okay na sana ako rin. But if that is true, ba't hindi ka makaharap sa debate? Can you not show your face? I'm a simple person. If the sins of the father is not the sin of the son, why then defend yourself? Appear before various forums to explain your side. It seems like he's sending the message na I will just win by default. By not showing up, I'll still win. Hindi naman tatama yun. I think the people deserve to hear from him what's the size of the story. Ang problema rito, ang nag-i-interview sa kanya, puro showbiz na lang eh. Pelikula. What is it, a fairy tale? Royalty? Hindi ganun yun. This is an election. And you have to go through all the different segments of the electorate. You need to hear your side. Maybe your story will be credible. Hanggang ngayon nga, hindi pa maayos-ayos yung kwento nun sa Oxford niya. It's because they keep on skirting the issue. Answer it straight. Show the proof. But they prefer to answer it through, Facebook, all one-sided or one-way communication. There needs to be a debate para makita kung totoo talaga.
And why do you think this is the case? That he has been carefully picking which particular interviews to grant and avoiding forums and debates?
I hope it does not evolve into conclusions of voters for him, for his sake. I hope by avoiding those kinds of interviews, I hope it will not sink into the viewers that the sins of the father is also the sin of the son. That is why he's not appearing in these debates, because he cannot defend these issues. Sana di naman ganon. I hope he can come out, still has time to do it. I hope he comes out and explains it para marinig naman yung side niya. At kung totoo yung sinasabi lang, the sins of the father is not the sin of the son, say it, show it. Tell the people your side and from your point of view. Maybe you'll get more votes.
In your case, you've been very much immense in groundwork dyan sa Camarines Sur, no? we've been hearing stories about Italiano Gold favoring Bongbong Marcos. Of course, officially, sinabi na nila na ang claim niya, di ko alam yan, di ba? Wala pa ako nakitang ginto, ganyan-ganyan. But are you also hearing that kind of narrative on the ground in your province? Somehow duping the voters na if this guy wins, papamahagi yung ginto. Meron bang ganun dyan?
Wala naman. What I heard was, and this was confirmed to me by one of those who attended, the 9 mayors, one of those who attended that meeting, there was a substantial amount of money involved in their discussion. Well, of course, just hearsay. I think to the tune of around 20 million pesos.
For what?
For supporting. That is the story that they intimated to me. One of the guys who was present in that meeting.
Okay. Do you think this refusal to actually appear in forums and debates is also triggered by the fact that he is trying to play it safe given the high survey numbers that he enjoys at this point?
Yes, he will try to win by default. Yun, hoping that his numbers will hold while avoiding all of these answering straight these questions. But that's a disservice. That shows your character. That's a disservice to the electorate. You show them. You owe it to them. We talk about good governance. We talk about transparency. First person has to show transparency is the candidate himself. Be transparent with your history. If there's nothing wrong, then be proud of the history. Be proud of what your father did. Probably you get more votes. Ibang generation na to eh. I think they're also bank on the fact that martial law was like what? 25 years ago, 30 years ago, na nakalimutan na ng present generation yan.
50 years ago, this year, 50th year.
Yeah, well, yun nga yun. So, my point is, they're banking on the fact that the generation now, the majority of the voters, youth voters, don't even know what martial law is. So I've heard some teenagers or early 20s think that martial law was such a great thing. That was like a festive time in Philippine history. So where did they get this the stories? I'm 52 years old. I've seen the tail end of it. I was with my father when he was in hiding. I would spend days in a room waiting for food to be delivered to us. So I know how it feels. So it's amazing to me to hear children or younger generations who are voters now who have a totally misleading or distorted idea of what martial law was. And I think that's the reason why he would not want to appear before various debates. Baka lumabas pa to eh. Baka matanong pa yung issue na yan. Baka bawas pa. At this point in time, lamang na nga eh. So again, winning by default.
And also, strictly speaking, baka naman ano rin, is it also an issue of defending the indefensible?
In my opinion, yes. It would be very hard to defend it. But again, if you see those people talking about it, they're old and gray. They probably passed away already. Konting-konti na lang natitira dyan. And a lot of them are not in public office. So no influence, not much influence to these young people who are voters now, who again have a distorted and misconception of those days.
In your case, let's go to your candidate. Bongbong Marcos has been enjoying big numbers, high numbers in surveys lately. How do you think your candidate can win against him?
Jokingly, if he keeps on not showing up, my candidate will win.
Why?
He will lose support. Nakakawalang gana yan. It's like watching a basketball game and your team is just sitting there not doing anything. And, it's so boring. It doesn't show anything. Just because his father was a genius, doesn't make him automatically a genius also. Pakita naman niya. Baka may makonvince pa siya. Ilatag naman niya yung programa niya himself. Not through Facebook or some other document. Or present it yourself. And don't be cherry picking kung sino yung mag-i-interview sa'yo. Medyo nakakalata naman yun. Go to the lines then. That shows character. Pick the hard fights. That's where the prize is. That's where the presidency is. Don't cherry pick your opponents or the place that you will show yourself. That's too easy. That's a cop out. That's taking the easy route. That's not the right way to the presidency.
But isn't his spokesman doing a good job somehow shielding him from all these controversies? If he remains vague with his platform, it's his spokesman who is providing some semblance of hard data.
Oo nga, chismis ko nga, mag-switch ata sila yung spokesman ng tatakbong presidente na eh. Kasi mas magaling ata yung spokesman eh.
Okay. How about you in your case? You're going to you already endorse your candidate, Vice President Len Robredo. Are you going to play an active role in her campaign?
Yes, here in Camarines Sur, yes. And likewise, if allowed to, even the nearby provinces, we can go there, no problem. We have friends, we have mayors or governors, or even former mayors and former governors, former congressmen who are willing to support. It's just, well, if I was to give a constructive criticism sa campaign team ni VP Len, they better start trusting political leaders. You know, it's nice to see volunteers from the private sector, but when it comes down to the last 10 yards, you will need a political machinery to have your votes translated or counted. Now, if you leave it to just volunteerism, kukulangin ka dyan. Kukulangin ka dyan. In the end, in the last 9 yards, you will need a political machinery. So tap them. They're there waiting for you. A lot of them are waiting. It's just there seems to be a communication gap between these volunteers who are solidly behind her and the politicians. In our case, we reached out to them because they also needed it at that time. But there are other places that you or the volunteers need to reach out to these politicians.
Are you talking of Bicol or the rest of the country?
The rest of the country. Marami. I've talked to many politicians who are waiting for them to be at least, tapped on the shoulder. Hey, we need your help. And they are willing to help. Nagkakahiyaan lang eh. Sometimes, or even I mistook it as pride at one time, but I realized nagkakahiyaan lang pala. So probably the example dito sa Camarines Sur, we're willing to help. And so are other politicians who are willing to help. Lapitan lang nyo. It doesn't hurt you if you ask help from them because they're more than willing to help you. Advice ko lang nun sa mga advisors ni VP Len.
Okay. Former Congressman Nonoy Andaya, thank you very much for joining us tonight on the program, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. After the fact, we'll be right back.